call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Marevka. Here. Jones.
Here.
March.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Ham.
Here.
Bowden.
Here. All right. And in your packet were the minutes from the March 25th Committee of the Whole meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Jones, second by Trustee Marevka to approve the minutes.
Jones.
Yep.
Marevka.
Yes.
March.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay, so public comment, just for the public here, just so you know, we're actually going to have 3 public comment opportunities today. The first is our Committee of the Whole, which, typically has just been, if there's something on your mind you want to talk about, that's the place to do it. At our regular board meeting, again, we're going to have public comment. The first one is going to be for non-agenda items. The second one is going to be part of our public hearing for the annexation of the Alexander property. So I would ask you to, if you have any comments on the Alexander property, to save those for that specific public hearing. And if you have comments on anything else, put them in the other public comment. So we don't want to talk about anything else during the public hearing for the Alexander property. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So with that being said, yeah, and if you could please just sign in your name if you're going to speak, just so that, oh, you're not going to speak. She would like to have that for her record, so. All right, that being said, any public comment? Just please state your name.
Sure. John Maxidon. So if this has anything to do with the Alexander property and you'd like me to hold my comments or postpone my comments, feel free to share some.
Okay.
So a couple of comments and concern. I know you guys have heard a lot of opinion on the truck stop and the TIF. And again, if anything that I'm saying is out of place at this particular time or incorrect, feel free to correct me, okay? The TIF district that is being put in place on the west side of I-57 for the property, it is my understanding that the Village of Peatone made an agreement with Aqua to bring water to the west side of I-57, public water and sewer. That is correct. I understand that the reason that the village, or one of the reasons that the village sold the water system to Aqua was so that that land became more attractable to business. That's correct as well, I assume. The fact that before this is done, we are basically extending a hand to Mr. Patel and any other business for a TIF district. Prior to that land becoming more valuable and attractive to business, we've essentially made a deal with Aqua, which will drive more business interest, which will drive revenue and impact to the schools, the fire department, law enforcement, everything else, without offering a TIF. We are prematurely extending that offer to Mr. Patel, not knowing if he would continue to build without it, and before Aqua's even in place. I wonder what thought has been put into plan to see what business you would attract and what lack of cost it would be to attract that business once this infrastructure was in place. It seems like we put the cart before the horse. That's all the comment I'll make right now. I don't know if anybody's interested or willing to respond, but there may be more thought that I bring up later, but is this something that you guys could entertain a response to?
Well, I think there's a little misunderstanding on what exactly a TIF does. I mean, Mr. Patel is not going to pay less taxes because of the TIF. He's going to still pay the tax, it's just we're going to be in control of that increment. instead of the schools and the parks.
So here's my
district.
understanding, the schools will not benefit from it.
Correct.
So the problem that I have with this, as a landowner and longtime resident of Peatone, is that the school board has also voted to run a referendum because they're in need of finances. And what I hear over and over again, and I am frequently known as opposition here, and I'm not afraid to say that, whether it be here with the school board, but what I will say is, what I do hear over and over again is, why can't we all work together? And so what I hear from the village is, this is good for the village, but it's mine and you can't play with my toys. Within a week of one another, I'm hearing decisions being made here, and I'm hearing that the school board is looking to pass a vote on a referendum in 2020. Clearly, the school board needs resource. They've got things that they want to do, and it's very unlikely that the referendum will pass. So if we're doing what's best for the community, let's do what's best for the community as a whole. Not what's best for the village, and not what's best for the school in silos. I'm going to campaign very strongly against the truck stop, a TIF, and a school board referendum. What I would be very much in favor of, for the record, is the school board and the village working together to make good use of the land without sheltering tax dollars and supporting the school district, the fire district, and the police department. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other public comment? If not, Mr. Blanchett, do you guys want to, good time for you guys to?
Thank you, Dr. March. Thank you, board. A couple updates, and then I'm going to introduce Melissa to give you an update on communications regarding our switchover for water source. So the pipeline construction from Egyptian Trail to the village, as I said at the last meeting, we were very close to going for permit on that. The permit has been filed with EPA, and so they're right now considering that, and hope that will be forthcoming pretty soon. In the coming weeks, it'll be coming at their timeline. So that's good. I'm also told from my engineers today that they're working very closely with Robinson on finalizing the bid documents so that within the next few weeks they can actually bid the project, both the in-town version and the rural section. So that's very good. It's good news and helps us stay in our timeline that I mentioned a few months ago of getting this water in as fast as possible.
And just so there's no confusion, we're talking about getting the water from your existing main pipeline into the village system.
Correct.
We're not talking about the I-57 part.
That is correct.
Okay.
So from Egyptian Trail in, the softened and filtered water from Kankakee River. So progress continuing made on that. Also on Corning, we're working very closely with Amy and the Robinson folks to get the design going for that, update the existing plans that are there, and then continue the rest of the design from Ratchie all the way to Route 50. So we're excited about getting on with that. And I know that Robinson has been discussed with our engineers about doing that project, and I think they're waiting back for some details from Robinson, but it's well in hand, and we're going to get that done before next summer. Unless there any questions on that? Is there any questions on those two projects? Okay, things are moving along at a good pace, certainly according to the schedule we discussed originally, and so we're happy to see that continue to move forward. With that, I think a few meetings ago, Dr. March, you had mentioned about what kind of things can residents expect, what can they look forward to when the water switches over. Part of that is communications and what people expect to hear between now and the time we change over the water. And I brought with me today, or accompanying me today, is Melissa Cahoon, our area manager for our Kankakee and Will County divisions. And I'd like her to provide you with some documents and also kind of explain to you how things are going to roll out in communications. Okay? Melissa?
Okay, thank you. In front of you guys, you have the letter. Craig already mentioned the project for Corning, and Apple will replace the water main along Corning in conjunction with the main road replacement. So that's just a letter. The first page was a letter stating that we will do that. I actually do need to make a correction, though I spelled Ratchie Road wrong. So if you can just disregard that, I will get the corrections to you guys. The second page is a timeline. So it's this sheet right here. So communications are incredibly important. So water quality will change when we get the new main here, and you will have softened, filtered water from the Kankakee Water Treatment Plant. So you see the dates up at top, up on the top. On the left-hand side, you kind of see what we're gonna plan on doing. So today's the city council meeting, giving you guys an update on everything. Through there, we'll do customer letters, we'll do some direct mailings, and then we'll do open houses again. So we'll do an open house before the water arrives, so we can answer any questions, because a lot of people are gonna have questions. Hey, what can we expect? What do we do? What happens after the switchover? We might wait a month, and then once everybody has the water, let them get used to that, have the feel for it, and then we'll come back for that second open house to answer questions there. And then we'll also do a couple press releases. So this is the general timeline of when we plan to do all those communications. The next one is a letter that's gonna go out to customers who are directly along the route where we're installing the water main. So it's just saying, hey, we're gonna be doing this work, you're gonna see us out here. When we actually, about 2 weeks before we start the work, they'll get another letter letting them know, hey, who is the construction company who's gonna be doing the work, what can you expect, and who is your point of contact for that. But this is the initial contact letter saying, hey, you might see us, we're gonna be starting this work soon. The next one is gonna be a brochure that'll go out to everybody. And so we put this together, and it really just gives a timeline of when did we start the design for the pipeline and when is it gonna be finished. And then it answers some different questions on what you can expect and what we think customers might be asking. Why are we doing it? What are the benefits to me as a resident of the village of Peatone when this new water comes? In conjunction with that, when we do an open house, you're gonna see this sheet. And this is a really important one we use because it's mainly water quality. So the big points on water quality are gonna be hardness and iron. So we highlighted some of the main ones that people actually feel and taste in the water. So you see the yellow ones that are highlighted. Those are the ones that customers will definitely notice the biggest impact on. The other education that we'll touch on when we do these open houses is water softeners. So anybody has a water softener, we do recommend, hey, disconnect that. If you don't like it and you still want to keep it connected, you got to change your settings because the water quality is drastically changing, so your settings need to change if you choose to keep that in place. Which again, I don't recommend, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to do that. And then the last sheet that we would use for open houses is the rates. You guys have probably all seen this sheet. I think it's pretty familiar to you, but it just shows the rate changes that would go into effect. So those are some of the things we're planning for communications, because again, they are incredibly important. We want to make sure we reach everybody and everybody is aware of what's going on and when the switchover occurs. And if you guys have any questions, I can answer those.
So when is this brochure going out for the,
That one is going to go out at the, what did we say on that one?
Mid-May,
Mid-May? I
early to mid-May.
think that's on the timeline.
so that's going to everybody, all the
Everybody will get
customers?
Yeah,
Okay. And then on your water quality sheet,
yep.
can you add fluoride onto that? What you guys put in? And
Yeah.
How should I have known you would have asked that?
yeah,
We will correct that immediately.
Dennis, by chance?
yes.
How about website? Can we help by putting some of this information on our website, or are you going to have any of this available on your website where we could link to a page or something?
We can get all
I
this
can
information.
share it with you electronically,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and we can
Absolutely.
upload it onto our website in case anybody just happens to go there, or we can direct people there for information.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
There'll be 3 of those, I guess like color flyers. The first one's a very introductory one. The second one is going to come probably, I think it's going to come in September or so, right before we switch over. The guy says, here's what to expect, but this is going to happen, when it happens, like take off your softener and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think one more after that, there's 3 of them.
November or December, you'll see, so the direct mail portion is where you see we're doing the direct mailings, those 3 color brochures out to the customers. Anything else?
So Craig, you still anticipate sometime in the fall the changeover happening, right?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yep, yeah, depending on weather and construction timelines and that, but we're really hoping for a late summer, early fall switch over.
Okay. And it's a little off topic, but, so So if it was a property adjacent to the village, it's not annexed, and they had some project they wanted to do, but we didn't think it was a good idea, Aqua would never entertain providing them with water and sewer without, like, a property adjacent to the village.
Yeah, we account for that when we did the acquisition. What we did is we certificated the areas around the village in a way that if you want to develop, you'd have to come in for a certificate,
Yeah.
and we have to request that, and it's much better for us to do that hand in hand with the village.
That's what I thought we had addressed that, but the question came up. I just wanted to make sure we had that
Yeah.
addressed. Okay.
And the other thing is, even within our certificate, new development has to adhere to our rules and regulations and conditions of service. And that can be a bit onerous, if not a cooperative effort between the village and
Right.
Aqua. So we're committed to making sure that everything that's supposed to come to the village comes to the village.
Right. Any other questions for Craig or Melissa? Okay. All right, thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. We'll see you next month.
Take care.
All right, any other public comment? If not, we'll move forward to the next item on the agenda, South Suburban Airport updates.
Hi. My name's Victoria. I live in Peatone. I was just curious about the water pressure and the damage to the old plumbing in people's homes when this new water comes in.
Oh, sorry, should have asked that before they left. I mean, maybe come next month, they come every month to the meeting of the whole.
Okay.
That would be a great question for them, okay? I don't know, my understanding, there's not going to be increased water pressure, I don't think, but that's a good question to ask them. Okay, I'm sorry, so go ahead. Are you representing Robin Kelly's office?
Yes, I am, but I can wait till the end of the meeting if you guys would like, if other folks
No.
have stuff to do.
No, we're through the public comment part, so
Okay,
come on up.
all right, thanks. Is there a time limit on what?
I mean, we have our regular meeting at 7 o'clock, so,
All right, okay, well, I'll try to speed through it, I guess.
good. Your name?
My name is Rick Bryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T. I'm the senior advisor to Congresswoman Robin Kelly's office, your Congresswoman. And she has asked me to go around and visit with village boards and elected officials to give them kind of an update on where the South Suburban Airport project stands. So I've been making the rounds. I've talked to several hundred people. It's different meetings like this and individuals, et cetera, business leaders, labor leaders, elected officials. So I'm here to just to kind of go through the regular spiel. I'm not sure if the village, for as far as I know, the village is probably not in favor of the airport, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone is up to speed and what the current status is, so that's what I'm here for. So, we'll start off with, I'd like to start off, Amy's heard some of this before already, but start off with some fun facts. When was the last time we built a new airport in the United States, a major new airport? And the answer is Denver was built in about 25 years ago, but that was a replacement airport. Denver International opened up, and then the old Stapleton Airport shut down. The last time we built a brand new airport in the United States was Dallas-Fort Worth in 1969, which was 50 years ago now. And in 1969, there was 200 million people in America. Today, there's 330 million people, and we still have the same number of airports we had then. So conversely, China's in the process of building 100 new airports in 10 years. They've done a third of that already, and by 2025, they will have another 65 new airports built. So that's just some fun facts and perspective on how frequently or infrequently we build airports in this country. So why are we even talking about an airport? And some of this you all already know, some of you, it might be new to you. But the FAA is the one that prompted this conversation back in 1985. The FAA said, Chicago, you're going to run out of capacity at your airports in the year 2000. You're going to be a major choke point for our aviation system. So you need to start planning for a third airport. And that was 1985 again. Since then, they were right. That by the year 2000, both of our airports hit capacity, O'Hare and Midway. Since the year 2000, O'Hare was the 12th busiest airport in the year 2000. Today they're 21st, so we're losing market share in cargo and passenger airports. We're also losing market share every day. O'Hare used to be the domestic hub for United and American Airlines until 2000, and since 2000, United moved its domestic hub to Denver, and American moved its domestic hub to Dallas-Fort Worth. So while we still have some hubbing going on in our airports, we're losing market share every day in cargo and passenger. Why do we want the, that's why the FAA said you guys need a third airport, so that's what prompted the whole conversation. Why are we supporting an airport? For the jobs. Airports are the greatest job generator in the world. It will, create probably 10,000 construction jobs, 15,000 jobs on opening day, and on down the line, maybe 50,000 new jobs. And this airport's been called like Chicago's third airport. It's been called South Suburban Airport. And it is those. It will serve Chicago, it will serve the south suburbs, but it also will be a downstate airport. This will be, if built, it will be the nearest airport to Kankakee, Joliet, Decatur, Springfield, Champaign-Urbana, Danville, all those downstate communities. This will be their local airport. They'll be an hour or an hour and a half closer to an airport if this airport is built. So it will benefit all sections of our state. People say, well, do we need 3 airports? Yes, we're the largest metropolitan area in the country that does not have 3 airports. And in fact, New York has 3 major airports. When I say major, I'm talking about the top 60 airports in the country. New York has 3 major airports. Washington, D.C., Baltimore has 3 major airports. Miami and Southeast Florida has 3 major airports. San Francisco has 3 major airports. LA has 3 major airports. We do not. So, we're big enough to handle a third airport. The status, what is the status right now? We're about 90% of the way there. There's not been a lot of conversation about it in the last several years. The last governor really didn't embrace it and didn't do much about it, but we are 90% of the way there in the planning process. And I say that for 2 reasons. One, the state owns 90% of the land already in hand, and the state has also authorized and appropriated money to buy the rest of that land. They have it sitting in a bank account, so the state could buy the rest of the land tomorrow. And the state also passed quick take authority a few years ago, so they could control all the property tomorrow if they wanted to. But right now they have 90% of the inaugural footprint in hand under state ownership. The other 90% that I just like to describe is that the FAA has approved 90% of the plans for the airport. In order for an airport to get a record of decision, there's 10 chapters that the FAA has to approve along the way, and they approved 9 of those. The first one was the need. Is there a need for this? The forecast. And then there was the size, and then there was the location, and there was the airspace, and there was environmental, there was access to utilities. So all those other chapters have been done. 9 of the 10 chapters have been signed off and approved by the FAA. The one chapter that has not been approved, the last 10%, is the final detailed drawings for the airport itself, which would include exactly how long the runway is, how many gates it's going to have, how many parking spaces, where the air traffic control tower is going to be, that kind of detail. But everything other than that's been approved by the FAA so far. What we're talking about here is, as you probably know, is a smaller starter airport. There'll be 1 runway to begin with. It'll be a very long runway, but 1 runway with a small terminal. Terminal will be 5 to 10 gates. The runway is going to be very long so that we can reach anywhere in the world nonstop. It'll be a 10 to 12,000 foot runway. The biggest cargo or passenger jets in the world can land here and take off from here, which gives us nonstop reach to virtually anywhere in the world except for Australia. So suddenly the south suburbs, the Southland, Will County becomes part of the global economy. We'll have nonstop reach to Asia, Africa, South America, Europe, and they conversely will have nonstop access to us. So we'll be part of the World Trade Network. The inaugural proposal is 5 to 10 gates based on need, and it will be a cargo and a passenger facility airport. There's a lot of e-commerce going on, especially in this area. This will be probably a great opportunity for e-commerce to invest right in the beginning of this airport and be part of the planning and design and construction phase. Financing. The airport will be financed through a public-private partnership. It'll be a privately funded airport with a public governance, which will oversee the policies to make sure that the local community's needs are addressed by the governing side. But as far as financing, that will be privately financed. That's how airports are built these days around the world. Even though, like I said, we haven't really built one in 50 years, But all the other places that have been building airports, Europe, South America, Asia, they use public-private partnerships to finance these things, and there's a lot of advantages to that. And as long as you have the public governance structure in place, then theoretically the needs of the community should be addressed. We don't have the answer for how the governance structure will be set up. That would be a sticky wicket when we get to that point, but there will be some sort of government structure set up either by the state or the counties or the communities. I'm not sure how that's going to work. We don't have a preference on how that should work, how it should look. But there will be some sort of public governing body. The reason we start small with this airport with 1 runway and 5 to 10 gates is we don't want to compete with O'Hare Midway. We're not trying to take anything away from them. We're not cannibalizing any of the existing aviation assets that we have in the community. But because I said they are at capacity, and they've been at capacity since the year 2000, the only way we're going to grow for the next 50 years as a region, as a state, is to add capacity in a new place, in new airspace that won't conflict with the existing airports.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
You say they're at capacity, but I mean, both Midway and O'Hare are spending millions of dollars on expansion right now. I mean, O'Hare just approved a huge new terminal to replace Terminal 2.
Yep.
I mean, so just tell me, isn't that going to expand, create more room for more flights there?
No, I'm glad you asked that question too, because while they've been spending billions at O'Hare. They spent $20 billion at O'Hare over the last 20 years. Supposedly when they hit capacity, and they spent $20 billion since then to expand. They call it expand, but if you go to the FAA, they're not expansions, they're modernizations. They're shuffling things around, they're tweaking this or that. They've not, this shows, the top line here shows the number of flights at O'Hare over the last 20 years, and it's been going down. Now the passenger numbers have gone up slightly over the past 20 years because what they're doing at O'Hare is they're canceling flights to Omaha that had 60 people on it and replacing it with a new flight to Tokyo that has 300 people on it. So it's still one flight, but instead of having 60 passengers, they got 300. So O'Hare keeps saying we're expanding, we're growing our passenger. Even though their passenger, this slide shows the passengers, their passenger is slightly up from 20 years ago, but not much, and it's gone up and down since then. But the number of flights that actually take off and land at O'Hare is down from 20 years ago. And Midway is the same thing. It's a slight downhill grade on Midway and a slight downhill grade on O'Hare. So a lot of public money has been spent, $20 billion at O'Hare, $5 billion at Midway to modernize. You know, the politicians will tell you it's expansion, but it's modernizing. And so it's not really adding capacity. The only way they could add capacity if they're going to start flying flights in and out at 2:30 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning, because they can't land any more flights. They can't land 2 planes on the same runway at the same time. And right now they're landing, landing and taking off 6 flights a minute at O'Hare. So they just can't do any more. So anyway, I think that's the end of my presentation. We are going to look for some money in the capital bill to do some off-site. No, this is important actually. We're looking for money in the state capital bill. The state's talking about doing a capital bill this year for the next, hopefully, 10 years worth of infrastructure improvement funding. And we put a request in at the governor's request for 3 projects in this area. One is an interchange on I-57 that would lead into the airport. It's probably a $50 million project. We requested 3 $50 million projects, $150 million total. One is the exchange, like I said, off I-57 in the airport. $50 million also for local road improvements with all the logistics centers and warehousing going in around this area, and the fact that an airport could take out Eagle Lake Road. We're going to have to improve some local roads around here and improve access so these warehouses can get in and off of the interstate without going through our community. So we've got a request in for $50 million to do local road improvements. And we have a request in to bring utilities to the airport site, electric, water, natural gas, broadband, that kind of thing. So I think we're going to get support for that. I'm not sure. We'll see. It depends on how big the capital bill is. But those projects could help our local economy and our community transportation system, even if we don't have an airport. So that's our argument is, with or without an airport, those projects need to be done.
So if people have questions about this, are you going to have public hearings about this, or should they contact you directly with questions?
People can contact me if they want. I have cards, which I'll pass around to you guys. Pass these around. Thank you. Here's kind of the summary of what I just told you. The brief, highlight of the topics that I gave you. I will
Yeah,
give
we've
you
got copies of that.
You got the fact sheet?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Oh,
All right, yeah, so a lot of that's on that already. And then, I gave these to Amy, and then you guys have that chart which shows where the jobs are created, I think, too, where, all the jobs, when O'Hare was built, all the jobs shifted up north, and we have nothing down south. So, and I know, that, and I understand, I'm not heartless, I understand that it will change your community to some degree. The airport's not gonna be built in Peatone, but it's near Peatone, and there will be some changes out here. There'll be changes with or without an airport, as I said too, but, it's, I don't know what to say. If people are opposed to the airport, we're not unsympathetic, we're not heartless, we understand that there's some ancestral farmers out here that, want to stay on their farm, and this will displace a few, not very many. The site that was located, that they picked for the airport had the least amount of displacement of any of the 9 sites that were contemplated. And that's a bad thing. I mean, it's something that I don't have an answer for. And it will change your community, I'm quite sure, eventually. Hopefully for the good.
Rick, can I ask you a question about
Sure.
the Capitol Bill?
Yes.
The I-57 exchange that you're looking at, that's the existing I-57 exchange to the north?
No, they're talking about
So
a
a whole new
a
one?
whole new interchange. You know where the rest area is that they're kind of renovating on I-57, just north of here a little bit? It would be just south of that. And it would be that would go right into the airport site.
Okay.
And but it would also connect with Illinois 50, Cicero. So there'll be, you get off of 57, you could exit onto 50 if you wanted to, or you could go straight on into the airport. But that site is owned by the state. The land just south of the rest stop is owned by the state, and that's where the interchange would be. And IDOT's already designed that interchange. It's not a 4-way cloverleaf. I think it's got exit ramps from both directions, but it's not a full cloverleaf. It's like 3/4 of a cloverleaf or something. But it also ties into Cicero, like I said.
And so could you just explain that even though you're asking for these items in the Capitol Bill, that wouldn't take away from local items?
Right. The first meeting, I said I've met with like 400 or 500 people. The very first meeting I had was with Speaker Madigan. And I explained this to him because Midway's in his district, and if he's going to oppose this thing, we might as well not waste our time. But he was supportive of this project, and he told me, because I asked him, I said, look, these state reps and state senators that represent the south suburbs, they don't want to have to give up all of their local needs when the state capital bill is put together to fund this. That this should be viewed as a statewide project, not as a local community project. And Madigan said to me, and I've never known the man to lie to me, I'm not real close to him, but I've known him for many years, I have never known him to lie. He said that no, this would be viewed as a state project, that this is an investment in the state's economy. If roads need to be approved on 57 or 50, or Peatone Wilmington Road needs an improvement, or the interchange needs to be upgraded, this would not interfere with that this project would be viewed on its own as a state project as opposed to a local project.
What the public-private partnership,
Yes.
has that been done in the States yet, US?
Yes, I mean, all airports, even historically, there's a million different ways, not a million, there's 1,000 different ways to do it, structure a PPP, public-private partnership. And O'Hare is sort of an old-fashioned one. O'Hare, you have the airlines built the terminals, United Terminal, American Terminal, International Terminal, and the city built the runways. So that already was a public-private partnership. And there's, New York, JFK did an expansion a few years ago that's pure public-private partnership. It's fully financed by the private side, governed still by the Port District of New York and New Jersey as the governing side. So yes, it's been done here to limited experience because we haven't built many airports, but it's done all over the rest of the world. That's the way to finance things. And the reason that is like I said, O'Hare's a great example of the old financial model. Airlines don't want to be in the real estate business anymore. They don't want to have to build terminals and have to worry about all that. They just want to fly people in and out. So they don't want to be building terminals. And the cities traditionally would sell bonds to pave the runways, and then they get landing fees over 30 years and get reimbursed for that. And cities don't want to wait 30 years to get reimbursed for their concrete. So the new model is a company comes in, pays for the construction of the runways and the terminals. It's got to be an aviation-related company that they know the trends in the business, and so they right size it and right design it. But the new PPP, which again, there's many different ways you can structure, but the basic one is one company comes in and finances the whole thing. And then the public side, again, is just the governing structure to make sure that everything's safe, that the communities are represented, that so someone has a voice. And New York's done it that way for a long time. And Chicago has an aviation department, so City Hall kind of runs those airports. This would be separate from City Council, from Chicago.
Where are these private companies from? Is it like United or?
No, it wouldn't be an airline.
That, or it's not an airline?
No, like Bechtel, if you've heard of Bechtel, they're a big international construction company. They build airports. There's a company in New York, Elcor, that built the JFK public-private partnership terminal. So there are companies. These are big, huge. They're bigger
But it's
than
not
Hot
like
Teeth
an
is one in Germany.
overseas company coming in and building and being private ownership of the airport.
It could be a foreign company that constructs it. Hochtief is a German company. There's one in Netherlands that also builds airports around the world. They would hire local people. They're not going to bring people from Germany here to do it. That would be the construction side of it. But they would still have to enter into an agreement with the airport commission, whoever that is, and with the state, because the state will continue to own the land. So the state will be a landlord, so they'll be part of the public side of it. They will own the land and enter into an agreement with the developer. The commission, the local commission, however that's configured, will also be part of that team that negotiates. So Bechtel is I think Bechtel is based in San Francisco, and they do these big sort of humongous construction projects. So it could be them. If you've heard of Turner Construction in Chicago, it's a major, they're a subsidiary of Hochtief, which is a German-based company, and they do construction projects like this all around the world. So Turner could be involved. Walsh is another huge company, but they don't really do airports. They do roads, I think. But I would think there'd be some subcontractors here that, if Hochtief does it or Bechtel, which is San Francisco, they're not going to bring in their people from all those places to work here. And then the governing structure will be the ones that sets up local hiring requirements, minority hiring requirements, prevailing wage, if that's going to be the case, that kind of thing. So all those policies will be pre-negotiated and part of the contract. So there'll be a lot of say-so by the locals, even though there's no company in Chicago that really builds airports like this.
And the current configuration is, based on what you just said, is both passenger and cargo. It's no longer just a cargo-only airport, correct?
Right. The industry says there's a need for both. The FAA says there's a need for both. Originally, it's going to be passenger primarily, but with the explosion of e-commerce and Amazon's buying 100 airplanes right now, they're going to start competing with FedEx and UPS. So and because of all the logistics development around here and all the highways and railroads that all come intersecting here, there will be a cargo component and a passenger component. I cannot tell you what the exact mix will be. It would be determined basically market trends at the moment that they enter into the agreement, probably. But it'll be both.
It'll be both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well, I would encourage everybody to, if you have questions on this, to contact Rick or your local representative. Rick, do you mind if I give out your phone number here?
No.
It's 708-679-0078.
I could give cards to anybody who's interested too, or fact sheets.
Okay.
But I'm
One
sorry.
question I wonder if I could ask.
Well, I'd like to, this really isn't a public debate. He just came here for informational purposes, and
I can talk to you later if you've got a question for me. No
yeah,
problem.
so we've got to
We
get
don't have
on.
here.
So I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time
and,
too.
We'll keep in touch, and if anything changes, let us know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the DCEO grants resubmittal for the ADA sidewalk improvements. So Amy, you want to discuss what that is?
Yeah, so I think about less than a year ago, we had a representative reach out to the mayor and on short notice had some funding and wanted to be able to have us submit a project. And the project was that was submitted before my time was sidewalks, ADA sidewalks, replacement of sidewalks which would be the ADA compliant. So we have a lot of non-compliant sidewalks in the community. So we submitted this like within a few days, and they changed the format. So we recently just got a request to resubmit and their new format. So I just wanted you to be aware of what we submitted and what it cost and what the breakdown was. And so it's exactly the same project, but it's just how we're submitting it is different. So I think we have a good chance. So the grant is submitted at $119,575. To replace, to get ourselves in somewhat compliance with ADA. We wouldn't be able to do the whole community, but we can do quite a bit. So we can do about 30 ramps in the community with that. So I'll get a listing from Bob of which ones we can do. And so this has been submitted as is, as you see it here. So it gives a breakdown of what the consultant's fee would be, and it's a breakdown of what the actual construction costs will be.
Is there a matching component to this, or is it 100% grant?
100%.
Just free money from the state?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, so it would be 100,000 of the submittal would go towards the construction. So
this would just be for at the intersections, making it ADA
Yes.
compliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of that would just be, as you can see, the breakdown of the description of the work. So included in that will be like the excavation and grading, removing whatever existing, replacing it with the ramps, restoring any topsoil that's around it that we disturb, so things like that.
Good.
Yeah. So I just want to let you know that is going on and it's being submitted.
Great.
In just a new format. The old format was basically just a total amount, and we didn't break it out for them, and so we just had to give them a little bit more detail, which is makes sense.
Perfect. All right, moving on. Manhattan boundary agreement. We got that in the packet. We have a boundary agreement with Manhattan that was signed almost 20 years ago. Well, I guess 20 years ago. Then it expires this year. And so Amy's had some discussions with her counterparts in Manhattan, and why don't you go ahead and...
So I just want to make you aware that it'll expire in June, and so I just want to make you aware that we'll probably bring it to you here very shortly to renew it if you so desire, with really no changes. I'm going to meet with them and go over the agreement in more detail, but I don't foresee any changes based on where the boundaries are at the moment, and don't really see a reason to move the boundaries. So I just wanted you to have the opportunity to read through it, see on the map where the boundaries are, in case you had any feedback for me. But I, based on some preliminary discussions I've had with the administrator in Manhattan, we're both in agreement that we feel like it can just move forward with an extension, renewal as is if you are in agreement. So, just an FYI.
So,
What's the period, 20 years ago?
20 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Amy also put together our other boundary agreements. So Moni, we signed one in 2002 that expires in 2022. Mantino, we signed in 1996, but it expires in 50 years. and that goes to the county line. Beecher, we just signed in 2013, and that goes for 20 years, so.
Are those binding legal agreements that can't be challenged? Or is that more of a handshake, pat on the back deal?
They are a full-blown intergovernmental agreement. You have the agreement where they're legal documents, but I think there are provisions in there where, you can, I think you can talk about it. I think you can, if there's something you want to maybe discuss.
Well, the reason I bring that up is right now everybody's playing nice.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of open. Something like this airport deal come through, and people will start getting nasty over money. So we need to really protect ourselves
Yeah.
with whatever we need to.
And I can give you copies of all these agreements. And for example, Moni's agreement I notice is with no airport. So, and
It
then
won't mean
that's,
much to me, but the attorneys, I mean, just to be sure that,
yeah,
because I remember when University Park annexed up to Moniz Village Hall, the paint on the back wall, I mean, they just,
well,
Yeah.
I think, we should probably start taking a look at Moni's right now with as much development as they're having, and if it's up in 2022, it's probably not a bad idea to start looking at it now and having discussions with them. For that very reason. Might as well get nasty early.
All right. Anything else anybody has from the board? Okay, we're gonna have another AOC meeting tomorrow, and we're gonna be hopefully discussing a little bit more our investment policy and, kind of what we want to do with the money that we have from Aqua. And that's about it. Nobody has anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
And moved by trustee Parker and seconded by trustee Ham to adjourn.
Parker,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
March.
Yes.